You know, when we think about getting good with money, our minds immediately jump to spreadsheets, complicated charts, and all this technical stuff. But what if I told you that financial success has less to do with how smart you are and a whole lot more to do with how you behave? To really get what I mean, let me tell you this crazy story about a tech executive. The guy was a certified genius. He literally designed key parts of the Wi-Fi routers we all use. He was super successful, and he would carry this huge wad of $100 bills everywhere. Well, one day, he buys thousands of dollars worth of gold coins, gets his friends together on a dock, and they start throwing the coins into the sea, skipping them like rocks, laughing about whose went the furthest. And then, not long after that, poof, he went completely broke. So, yeah, that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. Why do these brilliant, highly intelligent people make such baffling, self-destructive decisions with their money? Well, the answer lies in a really simple but powerful idea.
And the answer is that it's all about behavior over brains. And honestly, there's no better way to see this in action than with the true stories of two very, very different men.
Okay, so on one hand, you've got Ronald Reed. His life was about as normal as it gets. For 25 years, he fixed cars at a gas station, and for another 17, he was a janitor, sweeping floors at JCPenney. And then on the other hand, you have Richard Fuscone. He was the total opposite. Harvard MBA, a top executive at Merrill Lynch. So successful, he retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist.
So, who do you think ended up in a better spot? Well, when Ronald Reed, the janitor, passed away at 92, he left behind a fortune of over $8 million. And there was no secret lottery win, no big inheritance. He just saved what little he could, he invested it in stable, blue-chip stocks, and then he just waited for decades.
And Richard Fuscone, the Harvard exec? Well, in the mid-2000s, he borrowed a ton of money to expand his gigantic mansion. I'm talking 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools. But when the 2008 financial crisis hit, all that debt and his risky investments completely wiped him out. He went bankrupt. That massive home was sold off in a foreclosure auction.
Okay, so here's the crucial point. Financial success isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. What we're really talking about is the psychology of money, where simple behaviors like patience and modesty can beat raw intelligence and greed every single time. Ronald Reed was patient, Richard Fuscone was greedy, and that, right there, was the difference.
So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but why do people behave so differently with money in the first place? Well, it turns out that what seems totally crazy to you might make perfect sense to someone else, all because of their own personal reality.
And this quote from the book it nails it. Every one of us has only experienced this microscopic sliver of how the economy actually works. But that tiny, tiny sliver forms pretty much our entire worldview on money. Think about it. Someone who grew up during a time of high inflation is going to think about debt way differently than someone who grew up with stable prices. See, no one is crazy. We're all just products of our own unique history.
And check this out. This chart shows you exactly what I mean. If you were born in 1970, you would have watched the stock market explode, increasing nearly 10 times during your formative years. To you, stocks would seem like this unbelievable wealth-generating machine. But if you were born in 1950, you saw the market go absolutely nowhere during that same period of your life.
And that's the whole point, right? Your willingness to take financial risks has less to do with your intelligence or your education, and way more to do with the dumb luck of which market you happen to be born into. It's not about who's right or wrong, it's about seeing the world through completely different lenses. This brings us to what is maybe the single most destructive financial behavior of all. That social pressure, that personal desire for more. It's the trap of never, ever feeling like you have enough.
You know, Warren Buffett put it perfectly. Risking something important to you for something that's unimportant is it's foolish. And yet, unbelievably wealthy people do this all the time. Let's look at 2 really shocking examples.
Okay, so first up we have Rajat Gupta. This guy was born into poverty in India and climbed all the way to become the CEO of McKinsey, the world's most prestigious consulting firm. He was reportedly worth $100 million. But he didn't feel rich. He desperately wanted to be a billionaire. So he used his seat on the board of Goldman Sachs to feed insider information to a hedge fund manager, a crime that landed him in prison and absolutely destroyed his reputation forever.
And then, of course, there's Bernie Madoff. Everyone knows about his massive Ponzi scheme, but here's the part of the story most people forget. His legitimate business was already a huge success. His market-making firm was legally earning him tens of millions of dollars a year. He was already incredibly wealthy. So you've got to ask, right? Why? Why would people who have unimaginable wealth,
power, and freedom risk every last bit of it for even more money that they absolutely do not need?
The answer and the antidote to that question is a really simple but profound concept: learning the value of enough. There's this fantastic story about the author Joseph Heller, who wrote the book Catch-22. One day he's at a party with Kurt Vonnegut, and it's being hosted by some billionaire hedge fund manager. Vonnegut points out that their host had made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his famous novel in its entire history. And Heller's reply was just perfect. He said, "Yes, but I have something he will never have: enough."
See, the real trap here is social comparison. There is always someone richer. The baseball player making $500,000 a year feels poor next to the superstar making $36 million. That superstar feels poor next to the hedge fund manager making $340 million. It's a game you just cannot win. The only way to win is to refuse to play.
Knowing when you have enough is the ultimate defense. It lets you protect what's truly invaluable: your reputation, your freedom, your family and your friends, your happiness. These are the assets you should never, ever risk for a gain you don't actually need.
This all boils down to one final, absolutely essential idea. It's the skill that's really at the heart of everything we've talked about today.
So, after looking at the janitor who became a millionaire and the billionaires who lost it all, what is the single hardest yet most important financial skill to master?
It's this: getting the goalpost to stop moving. It's the ability to say, you know what, this is enough, even when you see other people who have more. It's about letting your own satisfaction catch up with your accomplishments, instead of letting your ambition just constantly race ahead. That is the only path to real financial peace. So the next time you feel that ambition creeping up, or you find yourself comparing your life to someone else's, just remember Joseph Heller. The real question isn't, how can I get more? It's, how will I know when I have enough? Because true wealth isn't some number in a bank account, it's the freedom to stop chasing one.